Thanks for stopping by the movie Hangout. Just finished watching Stranger Things Season 3, Episode 6, titled E Pluribus Unum. Let's get through the recap of it and we'll talk about it. So I checked out a really good article here on Vulture. I don't know, this website's just doing a phenomenal job of breaking these down, so I'm sticking with them. A lot has happened in this episode. There's only going to be 2 more episodes after this because there's only 8 total episodes. Kind of sad about it because, I don't know, I just love this whole season. I love the mall. I love the mind flare. I'm digging Billy's character and what we found out. We found out a lot of stuff about his character, which I am so happy because before he was just like this angry guy, this angry guy who just like would pick up chicks and it was hard to like him. But with this, we kind of get more information why he is the way he is, why he views women the way he does, why he's always angry, why he has like these abusive, violent tendencies and stuff. And it really kind of makes you like him a lot more and sympathize with the character, which I think all good writing should do. Even bad people, you should kind of see there's a little sliver of humanity in them. Let's get through it. Stranger Things recap on some faraway beach. And that is where we discover a lot about Billy. Great thing about this episode, it starts where the last one left off. So we are immediately in the beginning back in the hospital. 11 defeats the mind flare when it takes the dead bodies of people that were possessed by it and just gloops them together like this disgusting Terminator 2 T-1000 blob of flesh. And the blob actually goes down in the sewer. It goes back to the mill where the mind flare is hanging out and merges with the larger mind flare, and then we see Billy there. In the previous recap contained the hope that as the plot thickened and the season went into overdrive, we wouldn't lose out on a small character moments in the midst of all the monsters and madness. Thing is, not all moments of character development work. After a season spent teasing Steve and Robin, suggests she and all her fellow outcasts are jealous of the popular kids. Quote, even if all us losers pretend to be above it all, she tells him, we still just want to be popular, accepted, and normal. That sound you hear is every less than popular kid watching the show, gasping at the betrayal. Well, it kind of is true. Everybody wants to be popular. It's a false note that clangs as loud as a Soviet klaxon in an underground bunker. The sort of sentiment popular kids think weirdos harbor. Let's be real. Everybody wants to be popular. But anyway, let's fast forward here. Stevie's own revelation that he knows he was an asshole and now sees he's paying the price feels truer to the character we've gotten to know over the last 3 seasons. Even so, it's probably the best. We're spared further reflection when Dustin and Erica break in to rescue them, cattle prod in hand as chaos erupts around them. It seems the Russians' time operating beneath Starcourt Mall unnoticed will soon come to an end. That might be the case even if Dustin and Erica, who are turning into a winning team, didn't come to the rescue. In Illinois, Hopper, Joyce, and Murray interrogate Alexei. I think that's Alexa. It's like a Russian name. So basically, Hopper and Joyce take the Russian scientist that they escaped from the Russian thug. They take him, and then they take him to Murray's place. And Murray's one of my favorite characters. He's that crazy conspiracy guy. Murray can speak Russian because, of course, he can speak Russian. I mean, the guy just can do anything. His hardball attacks only get him so far when Hopper gives him his freedom as a way of calling his bluff. Much to Joyce's surprise, it works. After fumbling around with the translation, aided by some drawings, they figure out what's going on beneath Hawkins. Call the authorities via Hopper's secret line, and they head back to Indiana on a rescue mission. Their scenes have the episode's best comedic moments. Totally agree with that. Whether it's Alexei dubbing Hopper Fat Rambo, or Joyce taking no prisoners as she talks to Hopper's mysterious contact. But their lightheartedness seems like it end at fun fair. And that's the cool thing about this episode. We finally get to see that fair. the carnival that we saw in the trailer to the whole season. So Mayor Klein, he's like working to get this fair going because what he wants is he wants a magnificent Fourth of July celebration. Because if people are more focused on having fun and spectacle, they're not going to be thinking about losing their jobs. Not going to be thinking about the Starcourt Mall, of which he was paid a bribe in order to allow the permits to build. They're not going to be thinking about that. They're not going to be thinking about all the vacant stores in their town. And so this is very, very important to him. The mayor, the Mind Flayer, is not messing around after Elle gives it a beating at the hospital. It escapes in the sewer to regroup and make new plans. Elle and her friends also regroup as Elle searches in vain, at least at first, for the monster that wants to do them in. Her friends argue about whether she's overusing her powers. By the end of the debate, Mike has come around to Max's point of view that Elle should be able to make her own choices, but he's also fiercely protective of her and confesses he loves her. These two might make it work after all. The episode draws to a close as Elle, communing with Billy on the astral plane as represented by a California beach, a process that allows her to witness his troubled upbringing but also gives away her position. You let us in, and now you're going to have to let us stay, the mind-flayed Billy tells her. And this is one of the cool things about it, because basically what Elle does is she's like on a beach, looks like it's like in Malibu or somewhere in California, and she sees like a really, really beautiful woman who is smiling and laughing and looking towards the ocean. And then she sees a little blonde-haired kid with a little surfboard laughing and smiling. And then what you put together is that that's actually young Billy, and the woman is his mother. And then as Eleven walks further down the beach to get closer to the destination of where the Mind Flayer is going to be, she kind of gets like almost like a theater production of like what Billy's life was like. So Billy, he gets along with his mother. His mother's seems to be a good person. His dad's abusive. It shows Billy's father and mother getting into fights and there being physical abuse. And then his mother leaves the family, leaves the father, leaves Billy. Billy's on the phone in his bedroom begging his mother to come back and not to leave him there with his father. His father ends up abusing him physically as well as emotionally and verbally. And then later, his father ends up, divorcing the mother and then marrying what ends up being Max's mother. And they're not brother and sister or even half brother and sister. They're just, just two kids that were kind of like thrown together as a family. And so it's really sad. So that was a part that really stuck with me with Billy's character. It made me really sympathize with him because it's like, this poor guy, nobody starts out bad in life. Nobody. I don't care what anybody says. And most kids want to do the right thing, even if they have kind of a rebellious streak in them. And here, he was a good kid, loved his mother, had a terrible father. The mother abandons him and leaves him with his abusive father. And so I'm looking at this, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, why would you leave your son with an abuser? Like, why don't you take your dad? Like, what kind of a mother would do that? So that was really sad. So you see how he's abandoned by his mother, a woman, and then he is abused by his father, and so to be able to survive that, he has to get tough and mean and nasty. And then in his young adulthood, he kind of loves and leaves women, which is sad, but that's what ends up happening to his character. His character kind of looks at women because his mother left as being kind of like, well, you're going to leave, I'm going to leave you before you leave me type of thing, and it's really sad. And if you pay attention, you see that in real life too. So I think that was very, very believable. But that was one thing that I noticed a lot. And also the creatures in this are, I think, absolutely fantastic. I don't know if they actually use any practical effects at all, but the CGI they use looks really, really good. The CGI in this show is way better than the remake kind of like prequel to The Thing. So if you're a horror fan, if you remember the the John Carpenter, The Thing from the 1980s. Well, they actually did like a prequel to it about, I think it was like 10 years ago, 10, 8 years ago. And if you watch that movie and see how crappy the practical or just like lame effects are in it, and then also the really bad CGI in that movie, I mean, it's amazing. That looks like a TV show, and this looks like a movie. So I really take my hats off to Netflix for hiring the best CGI as well as possibly some practical effects people, because it really, really is great. Now, the writer of this article only gives this a 3 out of 5, which I think is extremely harsh, because I think learning more about the characters, because that's what really a show is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be character driven. I think was good in this. Um, I'm more about that dialogue, characters, because if those two are good, then we're going to actually care about the effects, and we're actually going to care about the action. So I wouldn't give this a 3 out of 5. I'm doing an out of 4 rating, so I would give this a 3 out of 4. Um, I think that they did a pretty good job. Maybe a three. You know what? I'll give this a 3.5. 3.5 out of 4, because I thought the writing was really, really good in this. We finally learned more about one of the characters, Billy, and we see his motivation in this, and also we see more of the relationship with the kids. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this recap of the Stranger Things Season 3, Episode 6, E Pluribus Unum. If you want to get future rants, reviews, or original content, click subscribe. Later.